Hi, it's Julie Reid here from Portfolio Oomph, and we're back here on our Thursday lunchtime Facebook Live, partly so that you can ask us some questions if you've got any questions about your portfolios or about the application process, or maybe you've heard from colleges that you've got a place, or maybe you've heard you've not got a place. But we wanted to continue this Thursday lunchtime opportunity so that I can be here for any of you if you do have questions. But we also wanted to give you a bit of an insight into what happens here at Portfolio Oomph, what we've been working on with students, what we've been working on sort of behind the scenes in preparing things for you. It's quite a quiet time now because most of the applications are in. We've still got a few students who are applying to Dundee. So what we wanted to talk to you about today, because we've been working on some new video content. Every year we kind of update our resources and what we have here to show students when you come for mentoring. And what we have at the moment is a few sketchbooks here from students that we've worked with. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about sketchbooks, because sketchbooks are always the tricky thing in portfolios that people seem to get really hung up on. What do I do in my sketchbook? What should be in a sketchbook? How do I work in a sketchbook? And because a lot of the schools don't use sketchbooks, certainly many students that I've worked with have not used sketchbooks until they've started to work with me. And even in S5, going up to S6, students still don't seem to be using sketchbooks that often. So if you're in that position and you've not been using sketchbooks and you've not kind of seen sketchbooks that you know, could give you some inspiration, some ideas, we're not going to show you sketchbooks just now, but I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about what a sketchbook is, what it can be. But to be honest, a sketchbook really is different for everybody. Everybody uses sketchbooks in different ways. We've got some great resources on the website that show how artists do use sketchbooks differently. But essentially, what is a sketchbook? A sketchbook is it's a place for you to record your thinking, your exploration, your research. I always kind of think it as a place to kind of do a bit of a brain dump in terms of what's going on in your mind about the subject, the idea, the project that you're working on. So many students have lots of ideas. They've got all these ideas and they can talk to me quite freely about these ideas. And they say, oh, it's going to look like this and I'm going to do it like that. And if I did it like this, and they can tell me what they're thinking in their head. But for me to be able to help a student, I really need to be able to see it visually. I need to see what's in your head, and the only way I can see what's in your head if you sketch it out, if you give me some ideas about colours, give me an idea about composition. So really a sketchbook is of as much use for you to sort out your ideas, but a sketchbook is really useful for your tutors so that your tutors can help you with your work. Otherwise it's very difficult to help a student. We see a whole load of sketchbooks of different types, and my instinct is to say to you to work straight into your sketchbook, so not to use it as a kind of presentation book, you know, to be working on paper, cutting it out, sticking it in. So a presentation book or a kind of scrapbook. Really a sketchbook should be worked straight into, drawing straight onto the pages where you can do, you know, it's a white page unless you want to work on different kinds of papers, but really a sketchbook is about working out ideas straight in the sketchbook. So what can be in a sketchbook? It can be cuttings, it can be, I've just said not a scrapbook, cuttings as in artists' work that inspire you. Okay, so it can be drawing. Predominantly, I would say it probably should be drawing, but it can be experimentations of materials, it can be experimentations of processes, it can be fabric samples that you've worked on, it can be things drawn on acetate, it can be collage that you're working on. It can be anything. It can be anything that's helping you to sort out what your idea is. and it can be anything that helps you to communicate to your tutors or to your, imagine you're working for a client, you know, you're working ideas and you're showing them your ideas, anything that helps to communicate the ideas that you're working on at an initial stage. So it's important that a sketchbook, as I said, isn't a presentation book. It's not supposed to be a presentation of really good ideas that you've put down. It's to be a working book that can have mistakes in it. It can have a mess in it. It can have, you know, things that haven't worked out, failures, if you want to use that word, because a really important part of the creative process is failure, and it's also identifying the good things. If you can't produce a load of work and identify the good stuff from the bad stuff, then the colleges are going to find it quite difficult to assess what your critical judgment of your work is. So your sketchbook should be there, everything there, warts and all, so that they can see how you've gone on and selected the good stuff to go on and pursue into the development stage of the process and into the final outcomes. So really, in a nutshell, that's kind of what a sketchbook should be. And as I say, it's different for every student. Some students will have sketchbooks that are purely drawing, and they're just out and about, just looking out in the park across the road here. They're out and about doing observational drawings. They're in the city drawing in the, you know, in the town. They're in cafes drawing people. It depends what you're interested in. It depends what your subject is that you're working on. Other people will have sketchbooks that are very painterly, and they're, you know, experimenting with materials and textures. So there's a whole load of different approaches. Maybe you're working with as an interior designer and you're looking at fabric samples, you're looking at samples for, you know, flooring, but alongside the kind of visual content needs to be your annotations. Okay, we talk about annotations at school in the higher and the advanced higher, and an annotation is really where you're putting down the thoughts that are surrounding the visual elements that you've got in your portfolio. So if you're thinking about, oh well, I was making this collage and I was using certain materials, it's about in a way, I suppose, reminding yourself of what you've done. Some artists have sketchbooks over years, 10 years, 12 years, and they'll look back on sketchbooks in that time. And ideas will come to them when they see works that they've been producing years ago, but they may be forgotten how they use certain materials, how they use certain techniques. And to have a sketchbook that's got annotations in that remind you what you were doing is really helpful. And the annotation also can be, you know, things that you think have worked well, your opinion on what worked well, what would you like to pursue, why do you want to pursue that, why is that piece not so good, you know, the whats and the whys. It's fine having a load of stuff, experimental stuff in a sketchbook, but unless you're actually processing and editing and making decisions about what is working in the sketchbook and what's not working, what's appropriate to what you're doing, and what's not, then a sketchbook's pretty useless, really. Well, not useless, but it's more useful if you've got annotations, and if you've got some decision making going on behind what it is you're doing. Okay, so that's a short sort of video, a bit about sketchbooks. If you want to find out more about sketchbooks, we've got 2 courses that we run. We've got one called Folio Foundations, and we've got another one that's called Plan, Create, Succeed, which is quite a large course. But to put the emphasis on sketchbooks is something that I do a lot with Portfolio at Oomph, because I think it doesn't get covered that well at school. We've got Yashi here asking questions. Hang on just a second. Yeah, the sketchbooks don't get used that much at school. So to put that into your portfolio, to work on that specifically within a portfolio is really important. We've got a quick question from Yashi. Would the same thing apply for a master's? I would say so, yeah. I mean, I think you need to be providing evidence of your creative process. And, you know, thinking about displaying and providing evidence of the creative process is really important for undergraduate and postgraduate. For a master's, you know, you're going to be pursuing a more focused line of research. And I would say for the design school you're asking as well, for design and fine art, I think without the sketchbook work, you're producing something that doesn't have anything that backs up your creative process, your thinking, your decision making, the justification of your final outcome. So if you're producing many final outcomes, but you're not having the work that shows how you arrived there, I would see that as being a weakness in your portfolio. So yeah, it's important, I think, as throughout the whole your whole career as a designer or a maker or an artist. But I think the more experienced you get, the more sort of succinct you are at going through the creative process. And you might find, you know, the more experienced you are, you've been practicing as an artist for 20 years, you might find that you have other ways that you do that processing. But certainly within the education system, within academia, is seen to be, you know, a really important part of your application, if that's what you're thinking about too, Yashi. Okay, so yeah, if you want to ask any more questions, if anybody's got any other questions, or if you want to leave a question later when you've had a chance to think about it, we're going to be here again hopefully next Thursday. The kids are on holiday starting tomorrow, so we'll be here next Thursday, I hope. The following Thursday I won't be because we're away, but we'll catch up the following week after that. But anyway, catch us. If you catch us, you catch us. If you don't, you don't. But do visit the page and you can leave some questions if you missed us. Okay, hope you're having a good day. It's a beautiful day again here in Edinburgh. It's quite chilly, nice and sunny. Spring's on the way. I'm excited. See you soon. Bye.